Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am your host HippoHQ, and today we are going to go over my Fantasy Age group that I play quite a bit. So let's have a look at what I am doing with them. Some weird reason my buttons have gone a bit wonky, but that is all right. Everything is good. Let's get stuck into the chat. So first, let's have a look at our heroes that we'll be playing with today. Today is ROUGE. He is one of my best friends. He lives in a city just alongside, so we only catch up once a fortnight, and it's usually to have the families play games together. His youngest son and my oldest son are best friends. They are as thick as thieves, and, you know, my son will get home from school and he'll be like, I have to phone Eli, I have to phone Eli, I have to phone Eli. He's straight onto Discord and talking to his best mate Eli. Tim today is going under this name Raz Einstar. He always does that, the same as I always go under JSAB or Ananiah. He is going to be playing a Dwarven Warrior. For anyone who has ever seen any of my other live streams with him being in, you probably won't be able to catch up with them. They were all on Mixer, and as you know, Mixer is sadly dead. But Tim always plays a Dwarven Warrior. Almost always. There was one point he played a Dragonborn Cleric, but he's usually a Dwarven Warrior. And he will be the party's tank and crafter. Then we have Captain Ironback. He is played by my little brother, Mikey, who often plays a sort of bounty hunter rogue style character. We'll get into other characters he has played before. And today he's playing a monkey rogue. Yes, you can be a monkey in Fantasy Age. So he has been a monkey rogue, using his tail to use his rapier and dual-wielding pistols. And he will be our resident locksmith and thief. Okay, we have Tilly. Tilly is played by my wife. She has only just started getting into D&D since we got married last year. She often plays mage characters, most likely fire mages, but today she wanted to try something different. This is her first ever adventure in the Fantasy Age. She has a D&D character and a Pathfinder character. So for Fantasy Age, she has made a feline mage. Pretty much think Tabaxi or Catfolk, and that's what you have, and she is a mage character. She is the face and the DPS of the party. So face, she has the cutest panther-type black face, and she sort of specializes primarily in intimidation at the moment, but she wants to branch out into persuasion, that sort of stuff. We then have Tim's oldest daughter, who is playing Hermione. I don't know where she got the name from. I think it might have been from the Harry Potter series, or she watches a lot of Futurama. I don't know, but she is playing a character called Hermione, who is an elven mage. And in the party dynamics, she is the healer, and she does a lot of AoE lightning spells. And finally, my son Yusuf and Tim's son Eli really wanted to join after seeing our first day 0 session. So they are joining. They are going under the name Yes, because Yusuf's name is Yusuf Eli, and Eli's name is Eli Samuel. So you put them together, you get the character Yes. And they are playing Orion Warriors. Now, Orion in the modern Fantasy Age setting, they are sort of your clockwork. They are your Warforged clockwork, you know, sentient robots. And they are the party muscle. So, Fantasy Age, Modern Age, they're all the same. You've seen a few of my episodes on Modern Age, but let's just go over the steps for making a Fantasy Age character. We have 1. Create the character concept. 2 is determine all the abilities. 3 will be choose a race. 4. Determine social class and background. 5. Choose a class. 6. Pick your starting equipment. 7. Calculate your defense. This also is your armor and your speed. And then the last two, which we're not going to go into, is pick a name and choose goals and character ties. We're not really doing, well, everybody has a name already picked out, and we're not doing goals and character ties too much. This initially started as just a one-off that I picked from an adventure seed in the Blood of Ferelden Dragon Age book. It's now moved into a campaign. So in a future episode, I'll move on to how to create little adventure seeds and that sort of stuff, and then move on to how to create actual campaigns. But we didn't really have it. The people who, the players basically just created a character for the fun of it. So let's have a look at Rad's concept. Okay, a bit of history into Mr. Tim's character, or previous characters. For Dragon Age, he played a dwarven DPS rogue. Now, this rogue was the sort of rogue that could literally do cartwheels above any of the enemy and backstab. He was always getting behind and backstab, 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 and just massive amounts of damage with his twin parrying daggers. When we moved on to Modern Age, we played a Titan's Grave campaign, and he pretty much moved his character into the Titan's Grave campaign. I believe for the Dragon Age one, it actually finished with him being absorbed into the Fade, and if you know anything about Dragon Age and the comments, oh, evening, Karam, I don't know how to say your name, sorry. Cameron. I'm sorry, I am really bad at pronouncing names, but welcome to the channel, my friend. Yes, if you know anything about Dragon Age, you know the dwarfs cannot actually cast magic because they do not dream and they have no connection to the Fade. So, in the final battle against the final baddie, he was able to use a Fade-forged weapon to stab the baddie, which basically sucked him into the Fade. There are some examples. If you read some of the comics, you can see there was a dwarven rogue who did enter the Fade briefly. I'm trying to remember the comics. I have them sitting at the bookcase, but the bookcase is too far away for me to look at. Kamen Rider Neo. Aha! That's how you pronounce it. Well, welcome. So yes, that is Tim's first character. His character in our D&D campaign, when we done Dragon Heist, this is when he branched away from dwarfs and made a dragonborn cleric. However, when we done our Salt Marsh campaign, he just moved straight into a dwarven fighter. And for Pathfinder, he moved to a dwarven ranger because he figured he could get more combat out of it. But as you can see, dwarf, dwarf, dwarf. Dragonborn, but, you know, he played it like a dwarf. Anyway, what is his character going to be today? Well, he is a dwarven warrior. He will have good defense and good armor with a high attack roll. And he is going to be doing crafting and maintaining the weapons and the armor. Okay, his ability list. To begin with, he had an accuracy of 2. He started with a communication of 2. I personally think as a dwarf he should have been a bit lower, but that is my elven bias. He has a constitution of 3, pretty good for a dwarf. Dexterity of 2. A fighting of 3. Intelligence of 1. Probably all the alcohol he drinks. Perception of 2. Strength of 3. And a willpower of 2. Now you may think these are very high stats, and yes they are. I let my party roll themselves, and I don't know how, but he rolled extremely high. He often does when he's creating characters. Maybe I should be watching him as he makes his, but I actually quite like having reasonably high characters. It just means, in the game, I just throw more enemies at them. Alright, his race. Now we've been speaking about it, so you can guess he is a dwarf. When you play a dwarf in Fantasy Age, you choose the following to modify your character. You get a +1 on your constitution, which will be ability bonus of +1. You get to pick one of the following: constitution drinking or intelligence evaluation. Well, Tim is a dwarf. He naturally chose drinking. You have dark sight, which allows you to see up to 20 yards. Your speed is equal to 8 plus your dexterity. So that's the power's dark sight. That is your speed. You can speak and read Dwarven and Common Tongue, provided he is sober enough. and you roll twice on the Dwarven benefits. So I generally, sometimes if my characters want to roll, they can roll, but I often just let them choose 2. It is in the rules, you can just choose, and yeah, I like them customizing their characters. So they chose Fight and Axes. Because they play a warrior, they automatically get the weapon group Axes, which means they get to choose Fight and Axes instead, and a +1 to the strength. So they got, Raz got Constitution +1 and Strength +1. Now his social class and his background. He chose a guild background. This represents his crafting capability, and what he chose for that is Crafter, which gives you a social class of middle and a communication bargaining or dexterity crafting. Well, Tim chose dexterity crafting, and he gets the social class middle. Okay, class is warrior. With the warrior, your primary abilities will be constitution, dexterity, fighting, and strength. So constitution is staying in the battle, dexterity is not getting hit, fighting is the ability to land a blow, and strength is the ability to do damage with said blow. Your starting health is 30 plus your constitution, which for him is 4, plus 1d6, giving Tim a total of 40 health. Weapons group will be brawling, and you get to choose 3 others, which he chose axes, bludgeoning, and spears. And then his class 1 powers is armor training, dual weapon style, and weapon and shield style. So his equipment he chose, because he has armor training, all dwarfs get it. Oh, sorry, we start with money. Money, being a middle, is 50 plus 3d6, which gave him 63 silver. His class equipment is 3 weapons and heavy leather. Okay, and his talent equipment, because he chose shield style, he gets a medium shield. So with that, we chose the weapons. 1 battle axe. It is rolling at a +6 attack and a 2d6 plus 3 damage. He then chose for his 2 smaller weapons his 2 thrown axes. This gives him some range ability, primarily throwing the axes, or should he need to, he can dual wield the axes and go into combat there. And they are, if he does them in melee, he uses his fighting plus his axe, which is a +6 to attack, and they do a 1d6 plus 5 damage. If, however, he throws them, he doesn't use his attack, he uses his accuracy, which was 2. That gives him a +4 for attack and a 1d6 plus 5 damage. He also gets, he sold his heavy leather, which gave him an extra 30 silver points, and he bought himself light mail, which minus his 50 silver. And his shield, which gives him a, that's meant to be a +2 defense. I'm sorry, I should be spell checking everything, but that a medium shield is +2 to defense. So anyway, his speed, defense, and armor. His speed will be 10, which is 8 for being a dwarf. Dwarfs are pretty slow, +2 for his dexterity, giving him a total of 10. His defense, without his shield, it'll be 12, which is 10 plus his dexterity. But if he has his shield and his battle axe, it is 14. 10 plus 2 for his dexterity, plus 2 for his medium shield. And his armor is 5 for his light mail. Now we can actually go in and have a good look at his characters. And here we have Rad's Iron Star. So, the talents we chose, Novice Armor Training. Basically, he can wear leather and mail armor without suffering a penalty to dexterity, which means he doesn't take, that penalty is 0 because it is a light mail. That's probably the key reason he hasn't moved to plate. You need to be a bit higher in order to get the plate mail. He then has dual weapon style. If he is wielding his 2 throw-in weapons and using them in melee, when he takes the activate action, he can either get a +1 bonus on his melee attack or a +1 defense bonus. This is just showing your dual wielding capabilities. He often doesn't use that, however. He prefers using his shield. So if with the novice weapon and shield style, you get full defense bonus when using a shield. Usually, no matter what size shield you get without the training, you can only get a +1 onto your defense. So that is why we've given him a defense, which is 10 plus his dexterity there, and we've written a shield +2 to defense there. So I did spell it correctly there. Okay, you can see here's Constitution drinking, Dexterity crafting, and fighting axes. This is why his attack roll is so high. He is doing the axe damage. I'm honestly surprised he chose dual wielding. Usually he chooses something like two-handed weapon, and he'll go with the battle axe and then a great axe or something like that, which I believe great axes are 3d6 plus strength damage. But I think maybe he wanted to branch out a bit and just go for a different style. And then we have his range weapons is two throwing axes. They don't go very far, but, you know, they're good just at hiffing something. Now, I didn't write the money down. A key reason for this is all of these things here are generally set in stone. However, when I print out the character sheets for them, they get to write the money in there. So, that is Rad's Iron Star. Reasonably good character. He tends to like staying into the fight. First battle, he charged in, guns blazing, so to speak, and got the drop on the enemy. Second fight, he managed to plan quite a good little sort of surprise for the enemy and managed to get the drop on them. Both times it basically meant he got advantage in his first round of combat. Okay, we can now move to Captain Ironback. This is my brother's character. So let's have a look at the history of his characters. In Dragon Age, he played an archer rogue. This was a very powerful archer rogue. I believe it was Elven, but it may not have been. However, it was too OP. Honestly, way too OP. When we moved to our Fantasy Age Titan's Grave one, he actually got himself a compound bow, which meant he could add his strength into it. And then he got bionic arms, which gave him a bonus to strength. And it basically got to the point where he didn't really have to roll to do damage because he was just so good at it. If he hit anyone, it would be like, did you get any stunt points? Yes, then you can kill a boss. No, then who do you want to kill out of the minions? It was very, very, very OP. There is a funny story. He did actually, I had planned this nice big boss fight. So he was against a cyborg ogre who in one hand had a massive chain axe and in the other hand a auto gun. This is an Ashes of Valhalla or Titan's Grave. The fight was going to be a nice big planned fight. Well, he used his archer to shoot the gun and the axe out of the guy's hand. He then aimed for the ogre's genitals and basically said out loud enough for the ogre to hear, "Do you think these are cybernetic, or how much do you reckon some, ogre nuts will go for on the black market?" Instead of a massive fight, we basically had the ogre cover himself up and surrender straight away. It was a little disappointing because I wanted a nice big fight with this heavy beast, but the ogre saw how powerful he was in range, and just the way he worded it, I just had to let him take the ogre, intimidate the ogre in such a way that the ogre surrendered. It was a glorious, glorious scenario. Anyway, moving on to our D&D campaign. He didn't join us for our Dragon Heist, but he did join us for our Salt Marsh, where he played a Theflin Rogue Bounty Hunter. And coming to Pathfinder, he played a Theflin Alchemist. I believe because they are a versatile race, his key race was Hobgoblin. But you can see sort of a similar line on all of his characters. So this time he has decided to go with a monkey pirate rogue. He carries multiple pistols and a rapier in his tail. He is skilled at climbing and seeing, and he is skilled at pickpocketing and lockpicking. So that is his usual characters and his character concept. His abilities are accuracy 3. He needs to be able to aim really well. Communication 2, he does like intimidating people. Constitution 0, monkeys are usually carriers of diseases. Well, they are if you watch any movies. Dexterity 3, this shows his ability to prance around the battlefield. Fighting 2, he's not good, but he can fight should he need it. Intelligence 1, Perception 2, Strength 2, and Willpower 1. So, once again, Mikey rolled his own characters. He never rolls as well as Tim, but he rolled reasonably well. He got 2 3s out of that lot. No 4s, but I'm pretty happy with what he rolled. So, his race. Now, his race is a beast folk. So, if you play the beast folk, modify your character as the following. Get Perception of 1. We get a natural law of intelligence or perception seeing, so he chose perception seeing. Your speed is 10 plus dexterity. I kind of prefer it if they had added a bit more to the beast race, being more an athletic type thing. I would have been happy with 12, but we'll play it as it is. That gives him speed of 10 plus dex. Languages is beast speak and common. And now you can see usually you roll twice. This one you roll once on the beast folk species table. So he rolled once on this table and he got +1 to his constitution. I believe he actually rolled for this, so he was hoping for dexterity initiative, but he got 2 1s, so that is a constitution. Now the reason you only roll once on the beast folk table is you get a second table you can roll from, which is the beast folk benefit. So he chose the primate, and you get to choose 2 of the following: armored, strength might, strength climbing, or sturdy. Armored gives you a +2 to your armor, and sturdy, I believe it means anyone trying to knock you down has to spend more stunt points in order to do it. He chose armored and strength climbing, so this shows his big, thick, furry cloak that he has as his natural armor, and his ability to scale trees with his tail. I'm just going to have water. Of course, said water is in fact tea, which is perfect. Okay, his background. He chose the criminal background, and I believe he chose the pickpocket. So this will give him an automatic social class of lower, and he can choose Dexterity Legiman or Dexterity Stealth. I thought he would choose the Dexterity Stealth route, but he chose Dexterity Legiman. So Legiman is your ability to pick pockets and that sort of stuff. Okay, and he's got the social class lower. Now his class is, of course, the Rogue. This is the primary abilities of accuracy, communication, dexterity, and perception. Now, the reason modern Fantasy Age has primary abilities is every even level, you get to add +1 to a primary ability. Every odd level, +1 to a secondary. That's how the level up works. You also get to choose a focus from a primary, and every odd a focus from a secondary. So, starting health 25 plus constitution, plus 1d6 is 32. I think he rolled I don't know if he rolled a 6 or he just chose to get a 6. I'm fine with him getting max health at level 1, however. His weapon groups. The book does say brawling, short swords, staves, and either bows or black powder. He chose black powder. I let him not take short swords and choose dueling because the rapier is part of the dueling group, not the short sword group. And his class 1 ability is pinpoint attack. Once per round, he gets to add 1d6 damage if his dexterity is greater. He has a reasonable dexterity, so that does trigger a fair few times. He also gets rogue's armor. You can ignore the armor penalty, leather armor altogether. That lets him use light and heavy leather armor at its full base without taking any penalty to dexterity. And his starting talent, he became a novice in thievery. Okay, let's have a look at his ability. First off, his money, which is 25 plus 3d6, giving him 34 silver. His class equipment is light leather and 2 weapons. Unfortunately, that's all he gets. It does say if you chose bows, you can get a bow or a crossbow. He chose black powder, so he just gets 2 weapons of his choice. So his weapons will be one rapier, which is swinging at a +2 to attack, and a 1d6 +5 damage. Then two pistols, he had to buy one of them for silver. Each pistol is a +3 attack and a 1d6 +6 damage. The reason he decided to go for two pistols is simply he didn't want to have to spend the time manually reloading. Black powder weapons is major action, which will take up his entire turn. Most combat runs very quickly, so he can pull two pistols out, shoot one, shoot the other, and then draw his rapier and go charging in that way. And he has light leather. Okay, his speed, armor, and defense. Speed, defense, and armor. His speed will be 13, 10 for his race of beast folk, +3 for his dexterity. His defense is the same, 13. His armor is 5, 3 for the light leather and 2 for armored. This is actually pretty good. This is what you'd get for most fighters. A thief usually wouldn't be expected to have such high armor. Remembering that modern age, fantasy age, all that sort of stuff, defense and armor are separate. Defense is your ability to not get hit. Armor is actually the damage reduction on damage you get given. I like how the system works because you can have people who specialize in not getting hit, having scary high dexterity and all that sort of stuff, while you can have other people who just go into battle wearing massive armor, and no matter how hard you hit them, nothing happens. Anyway, let's have a look at my wife's character, Tilly. So, character concept. Let's have a look at part of her background, all the characters she's played previously. She played in D&D when we done our Saltmarsh campaign, a half-elf hexblade warlock. Her specialty was drinking and pyromancy. We didn't choose Eldritch Blast for her warlock. We chose for her cantrips Green Flame Blade, and I can't honestly remember. I know she primarily used Green Flame Blade, and her specialty was attacking someone, setting them on fire, and pretty much going toe-to-toe in melee combat. Her Pathfinder campaign is Scroggin, the Goblin. You may have heard me mention him a few times, and he will be featured heavily in an upcoming video where I go over making druids in Pathfinder, D&D, and Fantasy Age. And he specialised in singing, so much so that Tim, who was the Dwarven party crafter, ended up building headphones for the entire party, so when she went in to sing, they couldn't hear him. And then drinking and pyromancy. Quite amusing. Whenever a bar fight broke out, she would either polymorph into a small critter and go up into the rafters and watch it, or she would grab alcohol and jump in and start singing. There is one particular adventure where she decided to go the singing route, and there just happened to be a couple of other goblins in the bar. The bard in the bar was trying to keep everybody, focused on him and singing as loud as he could to stop the fight. She jumped on his shoulders and started singing to her heart's content, and now she has 3 or 4 other goblins following her around in the party. And her particular character this time is a feline martial mage. It will be using magical armor, so as a mage she won't have the ability to wear armor. However, she will be creating her own magic armor, and she specializes in setting her claws on fire and attacking in melee, as well as drinking and intimidation. I think you can see here there is a bit of a theme. Most of it revolves around setting things on fire and drinking. Don't know if I have to be worried about that, but yeah. Okay, when I say martial mage, what I mean is think of Kung Fu Panda. If you remember the baddie in that, I was going to say Shere Khan, but that is the baddie in Jungle Book. I should remember it. My son makes me watch it at least once a week. But you can imagine the baddie goes into combat to get the dragon scroll, and in the middle of combat he clicks his claws together and his hands go on fire. That's basically what she wanted to make, is a martial artist who used pyromancy to augment her claws and magic to make her harder to hit. So, her abilities. Accuracy of 2. This just helps her fire her arcane blast. Or if you're new to modern age and fantasy age, that is Eldritch Blast for pretty much every mage character. Communication of 2. Constitution of 2. Dexterity of 3. Fighting of only 1. Intelligence of 3. Perception of 2. Strength of 2. And willpower 3. Key ones that she uses is dexterity to not get hit. Fighting, but we'll be augmenting that a bit later. Intelligence for her magical knowledge. Willpower for her sheer magical power. And yeah, a bit of strength just to be able to hit in combat a little bit. Her race, same as my brother's, is a beast folk. So the choices were, once again, perception. We got a bonus. She didn't actually want either of those. She chose 2 background focuses. I quite often let my characters do it as long as the rules are not broken and you don't choose 20 focuses. I don't mind if they choose 2 backgrounds instead of a race. Speed of 10 plus dex. Languages, beast, speak, and common. Beast folk benefits is +1 fighting, so that puts her fighting up to 2. And her beast folk, she will be getting claws, which do 1d6 plus strength, and fighting claws. So this means her claws attack will be rolling at a +4, and instead of claws, hand-to-hand combat, which is usually 1d3, she's actually doing 1d6. And as they count as a weapon, she can use her flame weapons to make her claws on fire. Okay, her background. She chose a noble background. All cats are super noble and super up themselves. But she didn't particularly want to be too haughty. So she chose the rake, pretty much the lowest of the noble people. It's kind of your rogue. That makes sense. And with that, she chose both, which is constitution drinking and strength intimidation. And that gives her a social class of upper. Okay, her class abilities. As a mage, she has accuracy for arcane blast, intelligence, perception, and willpower. Her health is 20 plus constitution plus 1d6. She only rolled 2, so she gets 24. Weapon group is brawling and staves. I'm going to have a drink of tea. Okay. Her level 1 class power is Arcane Blast, which is a ranged attack. Now, I let, as a ranged attack, it uses the combat stunts, but I also allow them to use magic stunts as it is a magical attack as well. So it just gives some versatility, and I don't see it being too much of an issue as most the stunts that are similar, such as Pierce Armor and Mighty Blow and that sort of stuff, are the same points. So, they can't double up. And that does 1d6 plus willpower damage. Okay, she has an arcane device, which she has chosen little tiny hand wraps, just to keep her paws warm. And magical training, she's chosen Earth Arcana and Fire Arcana, with the magic points being 10 plus willpower plus 1d6, giving her 18 magic. Okay, the spells she's chosen is Stone Cloak. Your clothing takes on toughness of stone while remaining pliable. Stone Cloak will give you an armor rating equal to your willpower for an hour. If you're wearing regular armor, Stone Cloak has no effect, and you can only cast this on yourself. This effectively gives her an armor class of 3 until she upgrades her willpower, which is incredibly high for a mage. She then chose a unique spell, Earth Passage. So, you touch an earthen or stone surface and open an unseen magical passageway through it. The passage is up to 50 square feet, sufficient to be 7 feet by 7 feet or 10 by 5, and extends up to 10 feet in any direction. Okay, effectively what this does is, if say she needs to get into maybe an inn that has brick is a form of stone, it lets her touch it, and then she can walk through the stone and get into the inn. She has used this once to do the drop on some enemies hiding inside an inn. She can use this for other abilities such as getting into castles, getting in and out of caves, all that sort of stuff. It's just a unique spell that she liked the sound of. Okay, Flame Blast. This one here, gouts of blazing fire erupt from your outstretched hands or arcane device, i.e. her hands, burning nearby targets. The Flame Blast is 8 yards long and 2 yards wide. Anyone hit takes 1d6 plus 1 damage. Targets that do a successful dexterity acrobatics test, i.e. they get to roll it out of the way. It's only 1d6 plus 1 damage. So, basically setting things on fire with a fire blast. And finally, you all knew it was coming, flaming weapons. So, a melee weapon you touch bursts into flames, which does not harm the wielder, but inflicts additional damage. When the wielder makes a successful attack, add 1d6 to its damage. The flaming weapon spell lasts for 1 minute, but you can extend it for the original, for half the original mana cost to give it another minute. This lets her spend her first action in combat, putting fire onto her hands, which will give her 1d6 normal damage, 1d6 fire damage, plus her strength of 2. Let's have a look at her starting equipment. Okay, we have money of 100 being an upper class, and 3d6 silver, which gave her 100 silver, and she didn't spend any of it. I don't know where she keeps it, but yeah, she gets one weapon and an arcane device. So we chose the weapon as the claws as part of her cats, which gives plus 4 to attack, 1d6 plus 2 damage. However, when they are on fire, they do plus 4 to attack, 1d6 plus 2 plus 1d6 fire damage. It's a fair amount for a mage. And then, of course, her Arcane Blast only rolls on a plus 2 because she doesn't have the same accuracy, and it does 1d6 plus 3, being her will. No armor. Sadly, mages don't get any armor. In fact, if they wear it, the armor penalty pretty much you have to cast spells with more magic cost. So, speed, defense, and armor. Speed is 13, 10 plus 3. Defense is the same, armor of 0. However, if she has her stone cloak, the armor is 3 plus her stone cloak. So let us have a look at, well, we didn't have a look at Captain Ironback. Here is Captain Ironback's cheat. So you can see his ability was Novice. If you failed a dexterity lockpicking test, you can re-roll it, and he's good at Legerdman. Tilly. So Novice Linguistics. This pretty much lets her read or understand more languages. She's playing it in the fact that she is playing as a cat, so while she has more languages, she really doesn't have to pay attention to it. And then her claws, her brawling, her staves, all that sort of stuff. Okay, I am going to have to quickly whip off. I can hear my wife shouting for something, so I am sorry. We'll have to whip off for half a second, but I'll be back in about a minute. Right, sorry about that. We run a B&B downstairs and it is starting to rain, which is not like February at all. And we just needed to get a spare bed in. We've got some extra guests coming for the night. So, yeah, here is Tilly, female noble rake, upper class, social class upper, sorry. Now her claws fighting, which gives her a +4. Strength intimidation, she has actually used that a fair few times. And willpower of 3, which gives her a +3 on her arcane blast damage, as well as spell power of 10 plus her willpower. So spell power is for whenever she does flame blast. There it says dexterity acrobatics. Basically, the enemy has to roll a dexterity acrobatics save, and the target number has to beat spell power. For her, that is 13. So anything on a 14 or higher, they pass. Right, did have collar there, but that is hand wraps. And wraps. And yeah, these are her spells. I have created my own spell sheets for everybody. And yeah, I've pretty much gone through for Modern Age and Fantasy Age and converted all the spells into individual spell sheets. I can actually show you some of them. So if I go to my Fantasy Age folder, you can see I have all of the spell sheets here. I like having spell sheets printed out for my characters. Makes it easier than them having to write it in. I do sometimes print off the spell grimoire that you got for Dragon Age, but it's annoying to read, and this is much easier for my characters. So if you guys want spell cards, just let me know. I can help you create some. Okay, back to Hermione, which is Eden's character, Tim's daughter. So she has never actually played anything before. This is her first game, and she chose an Elven Tempest Healer. With that, she does AoE lightning damage, and she works on the party heals, and she has a strong use of Arcane Blast. It's actually pretty cool. Twice now she has rolled Arcane Blast, and with her Arcane Blast, she has got stunt points and actually managed to completely annihilate the final baddies. I believe once she pretty much burnt everything but the feet out of someone, just, completely decimated them. And the other one, she managed to get 2 goblins and a goblin horde done. Very, very good. I think she thoroughly loves that ability. So, her abilities will be Accuracy 3. This is to help her hit with her Arcane Blast better. Communication 3. Constitution 2. Dexterity 2. Fighting of 1. Intelligence 3. Perception 3. Strength of 0. And Willpower 3. So as a mage, her primary abilities is Accuracy, Intelligence, Perception, and Willpower. As you can see, they're all 3. She chose one more 3, which is Communication. Now, I did actually do the rolling for her on this. And yeah, I was surprised how many 3s I rolled. I did roll a 0, and I did roll a 1. Most everything else was 3s. So her race, she is choosing an elf. She gets +1 on her dexterity, which we have chosen. She gets focus, intelligence, natural law, or perception seeing. Once again, she chose perception seeing. Dark sight, I didn't write that down. Speed of 12 plus dexterity, so she is very, very, very fast. She has the ability to read Elven and Common Tongue. And then twice on the elf benefit. With that, she chose +1 to accuracy and dexterity initiative. This pretty much lets her get the drop on people a lot quicker, which she thoroughly enjoys. Most of the time, she is actually getting pretty high for her dexterity initiative roll. And usually she uses that to do massive AoE damage, weakening most of the enemies in one hit. Okay, we seem to be having quite a few people watching, so welcome everybody. I hope you're enjoying the stream, and don't forget comment. I have the stream comments up and running. So yeah, if you comment, I will do my best to respond. Okay, her social class and background is she chose a religious background this time. With that, she chose Initiate. So Initiate gives her a lower social class, which means she doesn't have a lot of money to start off with. But she gets the choice of intelligence, religious law, or willpower faith. For that, she chose willpower faith. And of course, okay, I put middle. She was meant to get lower. Not 100% sure how I made that mistake, however, we'll let it slide. Her class is the mage, so the same as my wife's character, accuracy, intelligence, perception, and willpower. Now, she did roll a bit higher on starting health. She got one more hit point more. Funny because she's not the combat-oriented mage. Her weapons group will be brawling and staves. And once again, arcane blast, arcane device, which is a pin that wears around her neck, and magical training. I did not change that at all. It's meant to be lightning arcana and healing arcana. Once again, this is me copying and pasting from the previous sheet when I make the animation. And magic points. You see, I did change that one. Because my wife got 18, so she got 17. So, yeah. Anyway, her spells is Healing Touch. This allows her, for each mana point she pumps into it, she gets 1d6 health back. She also gets Revival. Oh, and that will be the phone ringing. Let me just answer that. Good. Yeah. Okay, I'll let Melissa know. Okay, I will do that. You're welcome. Bye-bye. Right. Sorry about that. I've been incredibly busy during this live stream. That was just my mother-in-law just letting us know there is something for us to pick up at the local New World supermarket. Okay. Revival. Your touch helps restore a grievously wounded or fallen. It helps restore the grievously wounded. Dying creature adjacent to you immediately regains 10 plus the constitution plus your willpower and health. Since dying characters cannot take actions, you cannot cast the spell on yourself. That is pretty good. It basically lets her resurrect people from near death. And then Shock Blast. This is one of her key spells. Electric arcs from your hand or your arcane device, shocking enemies in a 6-yard by 6-yard area. Now, it doesn't have a spell range on it. I generally don't let her cast it too far. I keep it the same range as Arcane Blast, but it effectively lets her, she raises her staff, lightning goes up, and then shoots down into an AoE. Her next spell is Thunderblast, virtually the same, but this is sort of Palpatine lightning attack. First one does penetrating damage, but it doesn't do as much. This one does a little bit. Oh, it does the same damage, but it knocks people prone unless they save a willpower save. Okay, so this is her spells she likes. Her equipment is Money, 30 plus 3d6. That is actually a mistake. She wasn't middle. She was lower, so it should have been 25. She gets one weapon and an arcane device. So her weapon is an arcane staff. Melee attack is pretty weak. It does +1, and it does 1d6 +1 damage. Arcane Blast does 16 feet. It rolls at a +4 because it uses the accuracy plus her... No, it just uses her accuracy, which is sitting at 4, and 1d6 +3. No armor, unfortunately. And her speed, defense, and armor 15, which is 12 for being an elf, and 3 for her dexterity. That's sort of what I reckon the beast folk should have been, but doesn't matter. Defense of 13, which is 10 plus dexterity. Armor of 0. So let's have a look at her character. We have Hermione, an Elven Initiate. Accuracy of 4, so start in 3 +1. Dexterity of 3 plus initiative, which means she's getting +5 every time it's an initiative roll. And willpower faith. I believe she's going to be putting that up a bit higher to get extra damage on arcane blast. And she chose Surgery, which is heal as a minor action for you. I actually let her get away with casting the spell as well, just to show her extra potency for healing. Some DMs don't allow it. I do. It's her first ever game, so let her feel powerful, I say. Right, and her spells. Healing Touch, Revival, Shock Blast, and Thunder Blast. Okay, now the Session 0, this basically came out with my mate Tim. We have dinner with him every fortnight on Saturday, and if he comes to our place, he picks my brother up. I go to his place, I pick my brother up. It's basically, my brother lives halfway between us at the Hastings. We live in Waipark, and Tim is on the other side of Hastings. So we chose, he just said, please come and bring the Fantasy Age stuff. We might as well roll a character and have fun playing it. So I took the Blood and Ferelden book, and I used an adventure seed from that. Let's have a look at this adventure seed. So this here, Blood of Ferelden. Now I picked this book up when I got a bundle. Where was the bundle from? Bag of Holding at a Dragon Age bundle. So yeah, see, I did we go along, and the sound sleep of the innocent. So this starts, bandits have plagued the main road north of the city recently. They're a relatively small group, but their attacks have become bolder and more violent as they perfect their tactics. A few days ago, bandits attacked a merchant wagon of a well-liked family, father, mother, teenage daughter, and younger son, who travelled a regional circuit selling wooden toys. Bandits killed the father when he tried to stop them from doing stuff to the mother and daughter. The violence escalated, and they wound up slaying the others. Unknown to the bandits, the attack was witnessed by an apostate mage. Mage wasn't brave enough to confront the villagers. Remember, apostate mage is part of the Dragon Age lore. But he used his magic after to save the young boy's life. The mage intended to simply drop the boy off at the local sheriff and avoid further entanglements. But when he arrived in town, he discovered the sheriff was away, not expected back for several days. Basically, summing it all up, the innkeeper, he went to an inn, the innkeeper was in league with the bandits. The innkeeper figured out the boy's testimony about the bandits' identity being manipulated or discounted, but wasn't so sure about the mage. After feigning sympathy and listening to the mage's tale, the innkeeper revealed that, in a lucky coincidence, a group of outsiders matching the mage's description of bandits had taken rooms in that very night. With the sheriff out of town and no standing force of guards, the innkeeper volunteered to round up a group of local men, paying them from his own pocket if needed to apprehend sleeping bandits. He left the boy in the mage's increasingly nervous company to round up such men. The bandits were more than willing to participate in the fight. That would leave no witnesses. So, effectively, The party is asleep in the inn. A mage comes in looking for some rest, and the innkeeper is doing the dodgy and is basically going to start a fight. The party can either, defend themselves, escape, help defend the mage, all that sort of stuff. You've got what they want, the mage, the boy, the bandits, all this sort of stuff. I pretty much glossed over that when I was reading it. And it's got a bit of a resolution there. So this is the seed I started with. Now, it didn't quite fit our particular game too much, but I mean, certain elements of it weren't quite what I wanted. But I took this general story and decided to change it a bit. And this is how, well, actually, no, this isn't how I changed it. First thing I do is create a map. So you'll notice the map in the background. I drew that myself. And this is the map of the region where I'm going to run the campaign. This is my general map. I haven't quite finished it. I've really only focused on these areas here. One day I'll get around to finishing these, but we've never adventured that far out. We usually stick around here. But anyway, the adventure says a road to the north. Yeah, let's have a look at a close-up. This is the close-up area. So we're going to focus ours in Emport. It is a port city town. Brancliff is actually a dwarven mining settlement. That's the main dwarven citadel. But they have paths all the way through the mines. They take all of their goods to Brancliff, put it on a boat, sail it down the barge on a river, and it ends up in Emberlot, which then gets taken south all the way to the main capital city here, and then south along through the path here, off there, It's basically the main port. They were doing it from here, but that's the main sort of dwarven citadel. That's the throne room. They didn't particularly like sending stuff out of there, whereas from here, humans built the settlement, dwarfs merely built the caves off to the north. It's more convenient firing it off this way. Plus, Midglade often gets attacked. This is the pirate area, the free settlements, kind of where my brother's character came from. Usually, like, if they hug the coast, they can go down south, and they can go across to Tweedale, but it's just easier to go down Emberlot and down the south. This is pretty dangerous oceans. If we have another look back at the main one, the general lore for this area is this whole part here was one continent. However, some mage done a bit of a whoopsie in the middle, kind of blew up the continent. It destroyed virtually all the land here, which is why there's scattering islands and lots of ruins. Pirates have sort of settled in the mainlands here. There's a town up here that survived, but it's it's pretty much in the tundra and, snowy area. It's more just a leftover town. The key towns are actually on the south coast here, a little bit on the north coast, and then a few towns around here, as you can see on the map. So, they're in Emberlot. The way I worked it is there is a hamlet up here, and it got attacked. The mage decided to come down to Emberlot. However, let's have a look at the Session 0 synopsis I created for it. So, bandits have always been in the northern forest. However, they have never posed much of a danger, as the road is heavily travelled and guarded. But a few days ago, bandits actually attacked a small hamlet of a well-liked family. Instead of the usual robbering, they resorted to killing everyone in the household. Unknown to the bandits, the attack was witnessed by a visiting mage. The father, before he was slain, told the mage to take the daughter and run. The mage threw up an illusionary wall and ran to Emberlot. The mage intended to drop the girl off with the local sheriff, but when he arrived in town, he discovered the sheriff was away, not expected back for several days. He went to the nearest inn, but unknown to him, second unknown, this mage doesn't have a lot of knowledge, is this was the worst thing he could have done. The innkeeper is in league with the local bandits. He feeds them information on good targets in return for a cut of the spoils. Mage overheard the innkeeper talking to a bandit who was visiting and sending for reinforcements, so he fled in of a friend of his, seeking help. At first, he thought time was more important than going to an inn he was familiar with. The adventurers were all in the inn for separate reasons, so they weren't an adventuring party, they were all just, they'd all booked room at the inn. However, with the allure of free rent and drinks, they decide to take up the Mage's cause and defend the girl from the attack. So, we played the session 1 Aftermath. This is pretty much how the story unfolded. Party went to the first inn and attacked the bandits. This here was pretty much Mikey and Tim kicking the front door in, Mikey using his climbing skills to climb up to the rafters and shoot from above, whereas Tim had his shield up and just started taunting everyone. And then my wife's character Tilly and Edel's character, Tilly used her stone thing to warp through the fireplace, and Tilly and Edel's ended up coming through the fireplace where Edel's pretty much blasted a bunch of the bandits into the corner. Most of them were knocked down with her thunder blast, and Tilly's character, Melissa's character, set her claws on fire, went charging in, and pretty much wiped out all the rest of them. It was quite a glorious fight. The innkeeper had 4 bandits, the innkeeper, and a veteran soldier you convinced to join battle. The party killed 2 of the bandits, took the other 2 prisoners, as well as the innkeeper. Now, the veteran soldier was actually a guard captain who was duped into believing he was actually rescuing the girl. After interrogating the innkeeper, the heroes learned that 2 more bandits were sent forward to scout the other inn. The guard captain sent for reinforcements and sent the heroes to intercept the bandits. The 2 remaining bandits were caught and killed. This was pretty much Edel's character firing off a arcane blast. She got 6 on the dragon dice. She completely decimated bandits. There's nothing but a pair of smoking shoes on the ground. It was good. She loved it. Okay, the guard captain got to the second inn and told the heroes he'll take over from there, but they are immune from prosecution of murders that happened that night. And the mage is now staying at the inn with the girl as her guardian, and the heroes have access to the inn as a home base while they are in Emberlock. So I like giving my characters some sort of home base that they can work from. In some of them, especially like Dragon Heist and Saltmarsh, they ended up actually taking over a place and building it up from there. This one, I don't think I'm going to go that far, but you never know. Right, we then move to session 1. Why there is a green line around that, I don't know. That is weird. Sometimes PowerPoint does weird stuff. Okay. The sheriff was only meant to get to Spellkeep, but only made it as far as Galilee, where the town was attacked by an orc war party. He helped with the defence, but the attack was really only a small skirmish. However, reports of more in the region are coming through. All local bandit camps have been overtaken with orcs, goblins, and beast folk, yet the local orcs have no knowledge of who these new orcs are. In fact, the local fishing village to the south of Emport has been attacked as well. During the innkeeper, During the innkeepers and captured bandits interrogation, it came known that the reason the attack happened was due to a leadership change in the bandit group. New violent orc has taken over and filled their ranks with orcs, goblins, and beast folk. Guard captain mentioned last night's adventurers to the sheriff. The guard captain mentioned last night's adventures to the sheriff, who has tasked the heroes with investigating this bandit camp while he works on the city's defence, with the large war parties up in the south. Sorry, I'm really sore throat all of a sudden. Basically, what it is if we go back to all the way back up here, So they were in Emberlot, that is the fishing village there. There's another little village there. The hamlet will be just up here. It's about half a day's travel up there. The guard captain was meant to go to the fort of Spellkeep. This here is the border of Alkenbar and the southern area, Arafern. He, however, only made it there, where that town was attacked from orcs there. It was only a small, tiny skirmishing party. However, more orcs have been seen pretty much building up a force there. The captain doesn't know, like, Spellkeep is a proper fortification, so it should be able to handle any onslaught. He has organised defence there. He is now organising Emberlot's defence and trying to get troops down to there in order to defend this land from the war parties that are starting to develop. Now, orcs are a free race in this world. They're just like any other race. They're not evil, so the orcs who do live here are sort of confused. They have no knowledge of what has happened with all of the orc war parties. They don't know who they are. They don't know why they're attacking or anything like that. So the party has been asked to go north up into this area here. The bandit camp will be in these little ruins up here, and basically try and work out what is happening. Why are the orcs suddenly becoming so warlike? Who are these new orcs? What is going on? That is their mission. So we'll go all the way back here. Okay, he has given the party access to the city supplies and has assigned them 3 new party members: the guard captain, an orc ranger, and the twin clockwork soldiers called Yes. So the party all filled up with extra health potions and mana potions. And my brother, Captain Ironback, found a bandolier which can hold 5 pistols in it, new lockpicks, and 3 more pistols. So let's have a look at the character concept of Yes. Now this basically came through as my son Yusuf and Tim's son Eli wanted to play in the game. I don't mind running campaigns for kids, but often mixing kids and adults can be a bit of, it can be very hard to DM that. So what I didn't want to say no to them. I wanted them to join and enjoy D&D and, tabletop role-playing. What I decided to do is give them 1 character. Now, not 1 character each, 1 character. This is a pair of twin clockwork robots. They will work together. They share initiative. They share hit points. But one of them walks around with a giant gun, an abacus, a giant gun, and the other one walks around with a giant sword. And if they start to get a bit overwhelmed, one can pick the other one up who goes stiff and uses him as a massive club, which they did do, and they loved it. So neither of them have played before, so this concept, twin Orin warriors. One will specialise in range, one in melee. They have extreme strength, health and armour, and they have advantage on all rolls. What this means is both boys get to roll, and then whoever got the highest, they use that roll for it. It gives the boys something they thoroughly enjoy doing. They get to talk to each other, they get to roll, they get to work together as one. They're actually really enjoying it. Quite happy with how it turned out. Right, so they had an accuracy of 3. This shows Eli's character being able to shoot really well. Eli wanted guns, Yusuf wanted swords. They have a communication of -1. Yes, they are 10 years old. They have a constitution of 4. I rolled this character up for them. And yeah, I got a 4. I got an 18. In fact, I think I got 2 of them. They have a dexterity of 1. They are not too good, but, it's not bad. They don't really defend themselves too well. They have a fighting of 4, my second 4. They have an intelligence of 0. Not stupid, but 10-year-old boys. Perception of 2. This shows their ability to hit. A strength of 3. And then a willpower of 1. So their race is going to be an Orin. So they get 1 to their constitution. They got strength, intimidation, or constitution, stamina. They chose constitution, stamina, so they can just keep going and going and going. They can run circles around the enemy. Their power is live-in clockwork. This basically means they don't need to breathe. They can also be healed through magic, repair kits, or crafting, and Tim is a master crafter. They have a speed of 10 plus their dexterity, and they can speak common. They didn't really choose another language. And twice on the Orin benefit table, this gave them strength, might, and armored. So armored, same as Mikey, gives them a +2 armor rating. Right, they also, because there are 2 of them, they have advantage on all rolls, like I said before. Plus I gave them an extra bonus of reload as a free action. Now usually reload is a major action, so you spend 1 shooting, 1 turn loading, 1 turn shooting. That's why Mikey has 5 pistols now. I didn't quite want that because it sort of meant they couldn't be attacking as often. So as long as Yusuf is attacking with the sword, Eli can reload for free. It means that 1 can attack with the sword, 1 can attack with the gun, and they choose sword, gun, sword, gun, sword, gun. Everybody gets an attack. Their social class and background. They came from a military background, which gave them a soldier. This gave them strength, intimidation, and the social class of lower. Now, like I said, warrior. Constitution, dexterity, fighting, and strength, their primary abilities. They have a start in health 30, plus their constitution 4, plus, actually I think it's 5 now, plus 1d6, which I roll 5, so they get 40, same as the dwarf. Their weapon groups are brawling, black powder, bludgeoning, and heavy blades, and we use all 3 of those quite a bit. Their start in 1 talents will be armor training, firearm style, and two-handed style. Now I know firearm style is not in the rule book, however it is in the Canyon guide, so I do allow fighters to take it. Now their start in equipment. They had 25 plus 3d6 silver, giving them 35 silver. They get a class equipment of 3 weapons and heavy leather. So their weapons is a two-handed sword, which is what Yusuf uses. That is at a +3 attack, and it does 3d6 plus 4 damage. Very, very, very powerful. The Arquebus, which is kind of a bit more than a blunderbuss. It doesn't do as much damage, but it has a lot longer range. So that does +3 to attack at range, and it does 2d6 plus 5 damage. Then they have a body slam, which I'm counting this as a two-handed maul. Effectively, one of them goes stiff, the other one picks him up and squishes him. Now, they actually used this in the campaign. They were against a goblin horde. There were 3 goblins left, so one of them picked the goblin, the other one up, and slammed him down. When he picked him back up, there were 3 goblin-shaped smears on their chassis, and the boys loved it. They managed to kill 3 goblins in 1. So that is again +3 to attack and 2d6 plus 4 damage. And now they sold their heavy leather and they upgraded to heavy mail. I can see where you would think that I'd done the math wrong. They only had 35 silver, 65 silver. Heavy mail is 75. I lowered it to 65. Basically, they get heavy mail. They just have no money left. So let's have a look at their speed, defense, and armor. Speed is 11, 10 for their race, and dexterity. Defense, 10 for their race, 1 dexterity. Armor is actually 9. That's 7 for heavy mail and 2 for the armored chassis. This is absolutely amazing for a level 1 character. Effectively, I roll 10 damaging them. I do 1 point of damage, and the boys love it. They pretty much go right up the front of the party and charge in first and take all the damage, and they don't get hurt. And they absolutely love it. That's why they sort of went in and started using each other to hit the goblins. They love it. So let's have a look yes. Hey, health 40, armored 9. That there is 7 for the heal, 2 for the armored. Defense and speed are both 11. 5 stamina and 5 constitution, sorry, and they have stamina, which means if they need to roll a constitution stamina for something, they're actually rolling 7. That is huge. Strength, intimidation, and might, so they can intimidate people into attacking them. And they have might, any, like, a drawbridge needs to be raised. Well, they're the guys that will get together and work together to raise the drawbridge. Remembering, of course, they're always getting advantage. So this I thought was a good compromise. Instead of having 6 characters, 2 of them are 10-year-olds playing, have only 5 characters, and the 2 10-year-olds still get to do absolutely everything, but actually get to work together as a team. And yeah, I can't stress how much the boys are enjoying doing that. So they have armor training, they have firearms style. When they take the aim, they get a +2 to attack, so that gives them an actual +5. And two-handed, when they hit with a two-handed weapon, they can move the target 2 yards in any direction, pretty much knock the enemy back. Right, so in conclusion, or the aftermath of session 1, they found the bandit camp that was actually holding some prisoners. Another farm, some farmers had been held captive there. They decided to attempt an ambush. Didn't quite work out. The way I'd done it is 2 people wanted to go up in the trees. That were the 2 beast folk, my brother and my wife. The other 3 wanted to attack on the ground. So there was initially 6 bandits there. They all had to roll a stealth. For the ground ones, it was a stealth roll of 12. For the tree, it was a stealth roll of 14. I let them use either strength or dexterity for the stealth for climbing. And as we can have a look, he has strength climbing, so he was rolling at a +4, my brother. However, Tilly was only rolling at a +3. Her strength is sitting at 2, so she done that. Tilly failed. Everybody else passed this stealth roll. Tilly, however, failed rather spectacularly and ended up making an absolute ruckus while trying to climb the tree. But she is a cat. She has intimidation. So when 2 bandits went to investigate, they looked up and saw a giant panther looking down at them, looking scary. They sort of, "Oh, that is a pretty cat. Look at that." And while they were focused on the cat, trying to keep eyes on the cat so the cat wouldn't pounce down and attack them, 2 people managed to stealth, sneak up behind them, and coup de grace them, leaving only 4 bandits left. So that is how I get around. If people fail a stealth roll, I'm like, "Oh, well, you failed, so all this bad stuff happened." It's like, no, you failed. What do you want to do about it? And she's like, "Well, I've got intimidation. Can I look menacing, and can I look like a cat up in a tree looking menacing as if I was hunting them?" Well, yes, you can do that because you are a cat. And the party, they don't know anybody else is around there. All they know of is you. You are a cat. You look like a cat. You've just got, you hide your clothes and stuff. It makes it look like you are an actual cat, not a cat folk. Why not? Let's do that. Okay. They killed killed 2 of the bandits before the fighting began. They then, when they attacked, they took 1 round to take out the last bandits, and then a horde of goblins came charging out of the cave. They managed to attack the horde of goblins, and they saved all the prisoners. And they killed or captured all the bandits. They killed 3 of them, well, 5 of them, captured 1 bandit. And they squished the goblins in an epic move of body slamming goblins. Everybody loves body slamming goblins. So that is basically the characters that we've started playing with, how I came up with the adventure, where the adventure is, and what's happened. What I'll try and do is every fortnight after we've played, I'll give you guys an update on what actually happened in the adventure. I don't know about doing it as a live stream. My system can handle it, but I don't know if you've ever worked in the film industry. I've been in it for a couple of years, and there are 2 rules. Don't work with animals, don't work with kids. And I've worked with both, and I can say, yeah, it's really hard to get kids and animals to work. So I will probably not have this as a live stream, but may do. If you guys want to, get some of these books or buy some of the other Fantasy Age stuff, jump over to the Green Ronin page. It is greenronin.com. You can go to Fantasy Age. We can just go home. Here you can go to the Age RPG. Got Fantasy Age, Dragon Age, and Modern Age. Age, I think, is RPG. There's also stuff like Blue Rose and The Expanse. Yeah, go over, buy some of the books, give some love to Green Ronin. They do a fabulous job. They don't sort of have the impact that Paizo have or that Wizards of the Coast. They don't have that sort of money behind them, but they create an amazing system that is fun to play, incredibly versatile, and I love it. Yeah, go over. You can shop Fantasy Age. If you have a look here, there is actually some freebies. Can download somewhere the beginner's guide. Don't actually see it there. Somewhere there is a beginner's guide. So yeah, have a buy. This is the core rulebook in PDF. That is what I got. They did have it as a bag of holding bundle, which means they possibly will at a later stage. The Ashes of Valhalla, that is Will Wheaton episodes he ran on YouTube. Very good, worth a read. You've got a couple expansions for that. Beastry is pretty good. It tells you how to create more beasts and that sort of stuff, level beasts up. The companion gives you a lot more rules. You've got a whole heap of little encounters that you can use seeds and stuff. Just have a look, have a buy. It is a lot cheaper to get into. And I actually find it a lot better. Like I said, my wife's only just started getting into it. She is already loving Fantasy Age way more than Dragon Age, than D&D and Pathfinder. She loves playing Navara, her Witchblade, because she gets to burn things up, and she loves playing Scroggin. But she finds Scroggin with 4 pages of her character sheet as well as a spell book is just too confusing sometimes. She doesn't know what all the feats are, she can't remember all that sort of stuff. Whereas this is her page. This has everything she has on it. She has 2 sheets of that and a spell book. And that is it. Everything is in here. And she's loving it. Yusuf, Eli, and Eden. It is their first ever one. And they are also absolutely loving Fantasy Age. So go over, get some stuff for free. There could be, they have some freebies on here. They often do, but look in, have a good look around, and yeah, try this adventure system out. It is great. So thank you guys for watching. I will actually be live next week with some more. I'm going to be doing the live stream next week will be, I'm trying to remember what it is. I've already written it. It is Dark Matter. That's it. I'm doing the crew of Dark Matter. I am also going to be at some stage, like I said previously, doing the Torchwood people. I've also got the rest of Stargate to do and Firefly. We'll also be running fairly soon the Druid book. And yeah, a lot more coming on the channel. So thank you guys for watching. It has been a pleasure to do this with you. Sorry I had to take a few breaks, but life goes on. However, yeah, don't forget, like, subscribe, and message me if you want to see any other content. Thank you, and farewell.